Industries of Rhode Island for hosting the press event today. Siri's been a great supporter of Rhode. They're a trusted advisor to us as well. They represent the companies that are rebuilding Rhode Island and own the cranes and equipment that you see every day along our highways, improving our transportation system. So thanks to them. And special thanks to Tim Scanlon, their executive director, and Steve Carty, their president. Before I introduce today's speakers, I'd like to give you a broad overview of why Question 4 is so important to Rhode Island. We're about halfway through the 10 years of the historic roadworks program to bring Rhode Island's roads and bridges into a state of good repair. Rhode Island needs this $71 million in this bond question to help finish that work. In the past 5 years, our partners in the construction industry, engineering professions, and labor organizations, municipal leaders, and our legislative leaders have worked with our RIDOT staff and have done an amazing job. Not to mention the great support from the citizens of Rhode Island themselves. Together, we've completed 171 projects that included 167 of our bridges. With all this work, we've created thousands of jobs, and we've pumped $2.5 billion into Rhode Island's economy. We can't lose momentum now, just halfway there. With the funding in this bond, the funding in this bond will continue that momentum. For every $1 of this state funding, we will trigger in the release of 4 federal dollars in matching funds. So the $71 million will provide an additional $284 million to make our roads and bridges safer, smoother, and more durable. I know the esteemed people here today each have their own view of the importance of Question 4. So let's hear their views, and here we go. First, I'd like to introduce Rhode Island Senate President Dominic Ruggiero. President Ruggiero has been our most powerful and consistent of supporters. He was the sponsor of the bill that created the landmark roadworks program in 2016. He also backed our successful efforts to secure a federal competitive infra grant of $60 million for the Providence northbound viaduct. And he's championed job creation and retention by working to bring new businesses to the land made available in downtown Providence from the relocation of Route 195. We're really glad to have him here with us today, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. It's a pleasure to join you today and all the others, and to encourage my fellow Rhode Islanders to join us in supporting question number 4. The transportation bonds represent an investment in Rhode Island's future. I don't have to tell anyone that we had the worst roads and worst bridges in the country. And we addressed that situation through road works and a number of other initiatives. I want to credit you, Mr. Director, because you have been through this with all of us for the last almost 8 years. And obviously, creating a great economy depends on a reliable transportation system. Approval of question 4 will lead to the creation of thousands of jobs. And I think that's very important, as you well know, especially with everything that is going on at this point in time with the coronavirus. So we need to get people back to work, and we have to get back to work safely. As you said, the investments at this level creates an additional amount of federal funds. $1 of state investment will create $4 return on federal funds. And that's very important because that amount is somewhere in the vicinity of $286 million in federal funds that we will be getting once we pass this bond referendum of $71.7 million. So I am encouraging the public. I'm encouraging everyone. I've seen the advertisements on television. I think it's very good, and it's something that we need very badly. So, and it's particularly, bonding is particularly important at this point in time because of the coronavirus. So making the investments proposed in question number 4 and the other bond issues puts Rhode Islanders back to work, building assets that will benefit the people of our state for generations to come. And I'm pleased to join this august body today because I think this is the group that could actually make this happen. And we look forward to a victory on Tuesday of the upcoming week. So I want to thank everyone for their participation. I want to thank everyone for everything they do on a daily basis. And I look forward to having a victory and getting the additional money that we need to repair our roads and bridges. So thank you very much. And please try to encourage as many people you can to support not only this bond referendum, but all the other bond referendums that we passed in December of this past year. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Well, thank you very much, Senate President Ruggiero. I'm so very pleased to welcome the new Speaker of the House, Joe Shekarchi. Speaker Shekarchi may be new to the Speaker's chair, but he's a veteran public servant who's been a vital supporter of transportation initiatives through his long career, and another one of the sponsors of our roadworks legislation. He was a tremendous advocate and worked for us on the creation of the roadworks legislation in the House of Representatives. He's always maintained a high level of interest and involvement in transportation projects, even down to his hometown of Warwick, like the Apponaug Circulator Project. When he became Speaker, he hit the ground running, passing a balanced budget in just a few weeks and assuring that this important bond referendum would come before the voters in a special election next month. He's been the sponsor of many economic development initiatives and understands the value of question 4 as it relates to the economic future of Rhode Island. Speaker Shekarchi.
Thank you, Director. It's always good to see you and the wonderful people on this, and thank you all for the work you do on behalf of Rhode Island. And yes, I am 100% supporting the bond. I actually cast my ballot in favor of all the bond issues, including number 4. I put it on Facebook. I got very good response. I remember working for DOT back in the mid-90s, and I've always been impressed by the dedication of you and the staff and everyone else. And it was my pleasure as running the governor's transition to recruit you to come to DOT from the private sector when you were an engineer in Cranston. And I think we did some work together way back when your hair was a little bit darker and I was a little bit slimmer. Yes, transportation is very important to the state, not only for the issues that you talked about in the Senate President, but because we look at around Rhode Island, everybody likes to compare us with national rankings. One of the key components is obviously the tax structure and also education, but also our infrastructure. We were dead last in Rhode Island for many years, and a good part of that reason was we had terrible infrastructure. So you work around the state, you look around wherever we go, you see construction, you see improvements, and you mentioned the Apponaug Circular that came in on time and under budget, and that's the way DOT should work their projects. And I want to compliment the Senate President because it was he and you talked about the budget that we had to pass in December. It was the Senate President and myself who dramatically increased the allocation that was proposed for DOT. Originally, there was no allocation at all for DOT. And then I think it was somewhere around 20 or $30 million. And we looked at it, we looked at the work you're doing and continue. We want to make sure that the work continues. We don't run out of money for these projects. And most importantly, as everyone said, we take advantage of every federal dollar that's available to us. So it was the Senate President and myself who increased the allocation from the 30 million or 40 million, I'm not sure, was to 71 million, because we know how valuable the work is, not only for the employees that work there and the contractors and everything else, but for the state as a whole. In general, We need to keep things going, especially during a pandemic. I look at this as this bond referendum number 4 as a targeted economic development initiative. This is a very good investment when you look at the return we get, not only for the jobs we get, but the amount of federal money we get. I wholeheartedly support it. I know everybody on this call will work hard to make it a reality and make it happen. And I have every confidence at the end of the day, Rhode Islanders will support this referendum and all the good work that DOT does with this money. So thank you, Director, and let's continue to get the job done as you have been doing a good job. There's also 5 more years left in the program. So we're looking for that same level of professionalism and results. It's all about results for me, and you performed well the first 5. Let's continue for the second 5. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Speaker. I promise you that we'll provide that to you. We'll provide the same result and performance that you've seen in the last 5 years. Our next speaker is Rhode Island's General Treasurer, Seth Magaziner. A native Rhode Islander, the Treasurer has devoted his professional life to strengthening Rhode Island's economy. Since taking office, this Treasurer has helped small businesses by moving millions of dollars of the state's cash back to local community banks and credit unions. He also revamped the state's unclaimed property system, reuniting more than 50,000 Rhode Islanders with their missing money. He was instrumental in our transportation efforts in securing RIDOT's Garvey financing that saved Rhode Islanders millions of dollars that would have otherwise gone toward interest was put into the ground in new bridges and roads. And he's been out drumming up support, even 20 minutes ago, I understand, drumming support for all of the bond issues, questions, and for that, we are very grateful. I'm so happy to introduce Treasurer Magaziner.
Thank you very much, Director Alviti, and thank you to you and your team for the incredible work you are doing to modernize Rhode Island's infrastructure and bring us into the 21st century. Thank you to my colleagues in government, to Speaker Shekarchi, Senate President Ruggiero, always advancing a strong economic jobs agenda, and it's an honor to work alongside each of you. To Mayor De Silva, who has made East Providence a leader in so many different ways, from school construction to energy efficiency to economic development, and to my friend Michael Sabatoni. We've worked together to put a lot of people to work together, and I thank you for those efforts. Here's the deal. We need to build a modern 21st century economy in Rhode Island, and one of the necessary parts of doing that is investing in modern 21st century infrastructure. We need to continue the roadworks program, fix our bridges, fix our roads, invest in public transportation, which this bond also does, and we have to be bold and aggressive about it. We are living through a crisis right now. We are living through a pandemic and a recession, and in times of crisis, we need to be bold and go big, and that is how we will recover, and that is how we will grow an economy that is broad-based, where everyone who's willing to work hard can have a chance to succeed. As treasurer, I can say unequivocally that these bonding proposals are affordable for the state. Interest rates are near an all-time low. It is a good time for us to be going to the bond market. And not only are these bonds affordable, but they are a smart investment that will grow the economy and improve our quality of life over the long run. So to everyone who is on this call, thank you for your leadership, and to everyone who is watching, vote yes on question 4, vote yes on all of the bond questions so that we can have a strong recovery for Rhode Island.
Thank you so much, Treasurer. When we first started working in East Providence on the design of the new Henderson Bridge project, and now on the Washington Bridge project, we reached out to Mayor De Silva, and he understood the possibilities that existed immediately. His vision is to have his city evolve with the help of these transportation projects and breathe new life into East Providence's waterfront by attracting new business and creating a mixture of pedestrian and bicycle greenways that will enhance the quality of life for East Providence and Providence citizens. Ever since his landmark election in 2019, when he became the first elected mayor of East Providence, and as a former representative, he understands how difficult it is to keep funds flowing to transportation projects and to keep them on track. He's been a great partner on all of our transportation projects in East Providence, and I'm pleased to have him here today with us. Mayor?
Thank you, Director Alviti. It's an honor to be here with Senate President Dominic Ruggiero, Speaker Sakachi, Seth Magazzino, who's doing a great job as General Treasurer, and of course my friend Mike Sabatoni. This bond referendum is so important, not only to the city of East Providence, but to all of the state as a whole, not only for economic development opportunities, but also for safety. I mean, that Washington Bridge, as people who have traversed that during rush hour, they see what happens there with traffic collisions, backups, and things of that nature. And the Washington Bridge project, when we met with your team and the people advocating for it, it was wonderful that we were able to work hand in hand, our city representatives working hand in hand with the DOT personnel to come up with a plan that works and meets the needs of everybody. We're keeping the Gano Street off ramp in there. I know that's one of the things that the people wanted. And the design will make it safer for people commuting and for people coming back and forth from work. The other thing, Henderson Bridge, you mentioned that was a gift to our community, and not only our community, to the city of Providence, that came unexpected thanks to Senator Rhode. Of course, I'd like to mention him, and Senator Whitehouse, and Congressman Cicilline and Langevin. That funding came, but we need to support that with the matching funds. And that's why this bond is so important. This bond multiplies those federal dollars. It's so important that everybody comes out and support these initiatives, not only for the safety of the general commuting public, but also for economic development opportunities within your own community. And for us, we see what's happening with Henderson Bridge. We're creating much greater access to the waterfront with the proposed off-ramp onto Waterfront Drive. So all of these projects together are not only going to make it safer for people commuting on a day-to-day basis, but it's going to open up opportunities for economic development for the state, the city, and for all of us. I want to thank you, sir, for all your work, and thank Senator Ruggiero and actually President Ruggiero and Speaker Sakachi for sponsoring and pushing that legislation through to begin with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Johnston Mayor Joe Policina was a leader and a partner with Rhode day in and day out as we work to create the vital transportation infrastructure that would attract Citizens Bank to locate their new facility in Johnston and to keep the jobs that they have in Rhode Island. He advocated for and helped expedite the resurfacing of Hartford Avenue, Route 6, both major lanes of travel. And he worked with us on the revitalization of both the Morgan Avenue and the Mill Street bridges in his town. He's teaching a class to firefighters this morning, but he recorded a short video for us. So it's always my pleasure to introduce Mayor Policina.
I'm Mayor Joseph Policina from the town of Johnston, and I'm asking my fellow Rhode Islanders to please vote yes on question 4, March 2nd. This will allow us to continue the progress of repairing our bridges and maintaining our roads. It's good for our economy and good for economic development. With new businesses coming into our great state, they look for solid, strong infrastructure. Question 4 will also ensure that the bridges and roads remain safe for all of us and for generations to come. Remember, vote yes on question 4 on March 2nd. Thank you.
Rhode depends on our construction labor force to actually get the job done. The various building trades and labor unions are our partners in rebuilding the state of Rhode Island from the ground up. Michael Sabatoni is a second-generation laborer and a champion for working families. In 2007, his tireless commitment to union leadership and working families was recognized when he was elected president of the Rhode Island Building and Construction Trades Council. He's also business manager and secretary treasurer for the Rhode Island Laborers District Council, representing more than 10,000 members whose hands are building our new roads and bridges. We look to him for advice and support on many issues, and we're very happy to have him here with us today. Michael?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Director. I just first have to comment you on my good friend, my hometown mayor. And by the way, I travel Route 6 every day. That's where I live and reside with pride in the town of Johnston. Nobody's been able to mute Mayor Policina, so you might be the one that's been able to accomplish that. So congratulations. But, I'm glad he sends his well wishes. He's done a great job in the town of Johnston. But I just want to say good afternoon, my good friend, brother, Senate President Ruggiero, Lita Sacacci, my good friend, Mayor Da Silva, and my real good friend, Seth Magaziner, the General Treasurer. You know, when we make investments such as this, there are two things that companies look for when they want to relocate to a state. And the first thing is the education system. And with Seth Magaziner's leadership on that issue, we're making real positive investments evident of the new high school that's currently under construction, employing hundreds of tradesmen and women in the city of East Providence, as well as now tackling the tough issue of continuing to invest in our critical infrastructure needs in this state. Now, I was looking at the bond question, and I had the opportunity. We're on a vote yes on Rhode Island's future, 7 questions, 1 answer, vote yes on Rhode Island's future. But question 4 really pops out, and the description says that the transportation infrastructure bond will match the federal funds, which I said last week is not completely accurate. Actually leverages 4 times that amount to the tune of $287 million. And the other eye-popping thing that this question 4 has is it pumps $360 million into the Rhode Island economy in fiscal 21 and 22. Immediate impact to Rhode Island men and women, tradesmen and women that you see every day out there, reconstructing, reconfiguring, reinvesting in our infrastructure on jobs, good paying jobs with wages and benefits that are family sustaining and jobs that can't be outsourced. And we're going to need to continue to invest in our workforce as we continue to make investments in our critical infrastructure in our schools as well. This pandemic has had a severe impact on a lot of different economies and a lot of different industries. And we're going to reach into those industries for any man or woman that wants an opportunity in construction so that we can train through our registered apprenticeship programs, the continuing workforce that we need to meet the demands of the construction industries of Rhode Island, our employers, who I'm so pleased to be able to partner with and appreciate them putting this event on today so that we can meet those needs going forward and provide people with a good standard of living while we're making these investments. I see it firsthand. Look outside my window. I know you can see the sun on my face. There used to be a 40-foot abutment right outside my window, a big concrete wall. Well, that concrete wall is gone because we did something called the relocation of I-95. Now that bridge is on the other side of the hurricane barrier. And that investment, think about the hundreds of millions of dollars by making that investment alone, the impact it's had on the city of Providence and the Knowledge District and the land that it freed up. So we need to invest in ourselves to attract other people to come to the state and invest to ourselves too. But I'd like to say to everybody on this call, on behalf of the 10,000 men and women of the Rhode Island building trades, as well as the 10,000 men and women of the Rhode Island Laborers District Council, quite a few actually work for the Department of Transportation. I'd like to thank every elected official on this phone call. I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to work with each and every one of you on your commitment, your vision, your courage, but most of all, your leadership in this state, because without any one of you, none of the things that I just mentioned would have happened and we wouldn't be in a place where we're in right now. And if we get these questions right, which I know we will, question 4 specifically, I am really positive on the outlook coming out of this awful year we just had through this pandemic. So on behalf of all the men and women that we represent, all of the locals I represent, both building trade and district council. I just want to thank you all for having me here today, and thank you all for your vision, your courage, and your leadership to the state of Rhode Island. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Michael, and thank all of our speakers today for your support. Your support means a lot to the people at Rhode, but also it means a lot to the people of the state of Rhode Island. At Rhode, we're ready to keep working and on rebuilding our roads, our bridges, our train stations, our bike paths, our pedestrian walkways, our ferries, and our transit facilities for Rhode Island's future. And the funds from Question 4 will give us those vital resources that we need to keep things rolling. Thanks to all of you for giving us your time today. And now we'd be happy to take questions from the press. Please unmute yourself as you ask your questions. So let's see who we have. We can unmute the members of the press, whoever has control. Well, it doesn't appear that we have any questions. I guess all of our speakers did a wonderful job in explaining precisely what this is all about. And thank you all again. And this will conclude our press conference. Thanks, everybody.